Hello, good morning. Welcome to Gaming Insight Daily for Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your sometimes daily show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I've got coffee in my Doom the Dark Ages mug. I'd show the logo. There we go. Not so much in regards to housekeeping as of yet. I do have some things on in the works, but nothing to be able to be talked about as of yet. However, I am currently still playing Donkey Kong Bonanza, so I will be doing a accessibility review of that. I just want to be able to get a little bit further into the game to learn pretty much a lot of the other mechanics, just to see if there's anything else that I could be able to glean from for accessibility purposes. So expect a review soon on Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm hoping if I can be able to get to it next week. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, hope you're doing well. Hope the week is starting off okay for you. But let us jump into the news, because we got some big ones, including we finally have something that is playable for Hollow Knight Silksong. If you're in Germany. Let me explain. We're going to jump into this. This is coming from VGC, written by Jordan Midler. Silksong will be replayable at Gamescom. Xbox confirms. Microsoft has announced its plans for its upcoming or forthcoming trade show, including the news that the long-awaited Hollow Knight Silksong will be playable publicly. The game, which still doesn't have a firm release date, will be playable at the Xbox booth on both PC and ROG Xbox Ally X. Gamescom 2025 will take place in Cologne, Germany from August 20th to August 24th. Grounded 2 and Ninja Gaiden 4 will be both playable at the show. The Xbox booth will also host a theater presentation for The Outer Worlds 2. Microsoft has also confirmed that it will host demos for several third-party titles, including Borderlands 4, Onimusha Way of the Sword, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, EA Sports FC 26, Animo. There are no Ghosts at the Grand, Power Wash Simulator 2, Final Fantasy 7 and Remake Intergrade, Final Fantasy 16, Invincible Versus, Super Meat Boy 3D, Chronos: The New Dawn, and Mistfall Hunter. Hollow Knight Silksong was originally announced back in 2019, where it was confirmed at the time for PC and Switch. In the 6 years since then, developer Team Cherry has confirmed the game will be releasing on Xbox and PlayStation consoles too. The game also made an appearance during the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation in February, leading some players to worry that development on the Switch version had shifted over to Nintendo's more powerful second console. Such fears were subsequently addressed by Griffin, who took to Twitter to reassure players. Just to clarify, Hollow Knight Silksong is coming to both Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. The release date of Hollow Knight Silksong has been something of a trope in recent years due to its numerous delays. Each time a new online presentation from Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, or anyone else is confirmed, players express hope that this will be finally the moment of Silksong's release date is confirmed. During the reveal for the ROG Xbox Ally handheld earlier this year, Xbox President Sarah Bond mentioned Silksong in a way that could have been interpreted to mean that it was a launch game for the system. The highly anticipated Hollow Knight Silksong will be available at launch and in Game Pass when the Ally releases later this year, Bond said. However, later, Matthew Griffin, who handles marketing and publishing for Silksong developer Team Cherry, took to the game's Discord server to make it clear that the game is not necessarily an ROG Xbox Ally launch title. Confirmed before holiday, Griffin said at the game's release date, "We are not tied to a console release." This is huge. Finally, we're going to get some people to have hands-on with Hollow Knight Silksong. The thing that I'm concerned about, though, as I am with a lot of game announcements, especially ones that are highly anticipated, is what is the accessibility going to be like? I tried to be able to play Hollow Knight, the first one, and couldn't get into it, not for personal or subjective reasons. It was mostly due to accessibility. It's been a while, so I can't really say what specifically was the cause of it for me to stop playing. But it is something that I am concerned about, especially with the fact that I understand. It's not to say like the Hollow Knight games came around at a time when accessibility wasn't really fully talked about or added into studio sort of production pipeline, and the fact that Silksong was announced in 2019 could mean that there is the potential for some accessibility, because accessibility kind of started to become at the bigger forefront when they were in early production. especially with The Last of Us 2 coming out in 2020. But whether or not it's going to be accessible from the get-go, I would probably guess, unless Team Cherry has been secretly working, like firing or talking to a lot of accessibility consultants, I would be willing to bet that probably there won't be a lot of accessibility, at least in regards to full accessibility in this. I could see potentially maybe an assist mode if they, because around that time, Celeste was sort of the big deal, and it is a platformer type kind of game as well. And so I could definitely see them sort of adopting an assist mode or a Celeste-like assist mode where it's not the intended way to play, but it is something that we understand that many different people would like to be able to have these settings. So we're going to include them. That's kind of the stance that Celeste did. So there's potential that this could have an assist mode. I could definitely see that. This is all speculation, by the way. I do not know. I do not know anyone at Team Cherry. I've never talked to any of the consultants who are friends who've worked on that. Obviously, if we did, that would be breaking NDA. So I don't have any insight knowledge as whether or not this game is going to be accessible. There are indications that potentially it might not be, at least fully accessible, because again, this has been in production for 6 years, and accessibility wasn't necessarily a huge thing back in 2019 when they announced it. So they probably were already in a couple years. But then again, this game has been delayed, so there's a possibility that maybe some of the studio developers at Team Cherry was like, hey, we should maybe try to make this accessible too. And I'm not speculating or not saying that the delays was due to adding accessibility. If that was the case, then we'd be in a lot more trouble than we realize. But it is something to be able to kind of to think about. So I'm cautiously optimistic is the term I'd go for. And I'd be probably willing to bet that there's probably not going to be anybody at like that's going to Gamescom that will be testing Hollow Knight Silksong for accessibility. But if you know someone who is, let me know in the comments down below. They'll be able to hear it. Actually, also leave in the comments down below. What do you think? Are you excited for Hollow Knight Silksong? Are you interested in playing this? Are you just excited, or like you won't believe it until you see it kind of deal? Let me know also in the comment section down below. Next one is kind of, actually, I'm going to jump to this. The Sony sues Tencent, claiming its Light of Motrium game, or Mochiram or Motoram, I don't know, is a Slavish clone of its Horizon series. This is by Chris Scullion over at VGC. As initially reported by Reuters, I can't talk today. Sony has filed a lawsuit in California federal court alleging copyright and trademark infringement and claiming that the game is so close to Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, the players could be confused into thinking it's part of the same series. The suit also alleges that after starting work on Light of Motrium, I don't know how to pronounce it, Motorum, I don't know. Tencent then asked Sony if it wanted to collaborate on a new Horizon game, to which Sony declined. Sony claims that Tencent went ahead and made a Horizon-like game anyway. Upon information and belief sometime in 2023, and unbeknownst to Sony, Tencent started developing a video game called Light of Motrium, which, just like Horizon, features a young, red-headed female protagonist and tribal groups fighting for survival among large robotic animals in a post-apocalyptic world, the document says. In March 2024, at a gaming conference in San Francisco, California, Tencent executives approached Sony with a pitch to develop its own Horizon game in collaboration with SIE. Sony rejected the idea and considered the matter closed. Apparently, Tencent was undeterred by SIE's refusal to license its Horizon intellectual property. Tencent continued secretly developing Light of Motrium, eventually announcing a forthcoming game. Tencent's promotional material bore a strong similarity to SIE's own Horizon promotional material. The suit claims that the game's Steam store page, trailer, promotional screenshots, and gameplay footage all, quote, misappropriated protectable elements of SIE's copyrights in the Horizon franchise to a significant degree, end quote. Stating that it's far from along in recognizing the striking similarities, Sony also cites online users and websites who pointed out how much Light of Motrium looks like Horizon. Describing the game as a Slavish clone of the Horizon series, the suit seeks judgment that Tencent willfully infringed registered Horizon copyrights as well as the Aloy character trademark. It wants an order preventing Tencent from releasing the game as well as monetary damages. Light of Motrium is developed by Polaris Quest, a subsidiary of Tencent. The game is described as an open world adventure set in a land where, quote, human civilization has ceased to exist, unquote. This world is inhabited by mechanical animals known as mechanibals. Very clever, including a large gorilla, deer, and bull. When the game was revealed last year, players pointed out the similarities with the Horizon games. This is shameless, Reddit user Zerium wrote at the time. Like, if they at least changed the colors, made the plating chrome instead of white, made the good lights green, bad lights purple, maybe they could slip it by without people's eyebrows raising into the stratosphere, but come on. Hey, you guys remember when people were telling Nintendo to use to sue Powerwell for ripping off their game, and Nintendo did, but Nintendo did, but for other reasons? Reddit user Theon, I can't pronounce it, added, yeah, Gorilla should absolutely be looking into some legal action because holy shit, that's blatant. And looking at the screenshots, I mean, you could definitely tell that this is very similar. Like, if I didn't know any better, I probably would have seen this and being like, yeah, it looks exactly like Horizon. Like, legit, I would if I didn't know that this was this Light of Motrium, I would have thought that this was another Horizon game. And even looking at the promotional image here, it looks so similar to even the promotional elements of the game. All right, so let's talk about the lawsuit and kind of thing. Whenever you're trying to be able to fight copyright law, it is the business's responsibility to protect that copyright. And what do you mean by protecting the copyright? Does it does it mean that you have to sue everybody? No. In order to be able to because if in order to be able to keep a copyright, in order to be able to like claim the rights for a thing, you have to actively be protecting that copyright. And you have to, that's part of owning a trademark. You have to actively be protecting it, because otherwise you may lose that patent and you may lose that copyright. That's just the way it is. If people were making, if in this case, if Tencent was making this game and it came out and Sony did nothing to protect it, to protect that trademark, and it could mean that other people could basically create literally a Horizon's clone and basically make money off of it, and then that trademark will essentially become null and void by legal standards because Sony didn't protect it. Now you may be wondering the second thing: why is it taking Sony so long to be able to sue Tencent in regards to this? This was announced in 2024, or at least it was announced at least a year ago. Well, you got to remember the legal system is very slow. In order to be able to file a lawsuit that is not frivolous, you have to basically obviously research and gather evidence, and a lot of that takes time. In order to be able to build a case, it's not as simple as basically, someone sees a thing, and immediately a lawyer's like, okay, draft up a lawsuit in less than 24 hours, or within 24 hours, and we'll sue them right away. It doesn't work. The legal system doesn't work like that. You know, it could be abused like that potentially, but in order to be able to protect a copyright, it takes you have to actually have a considerable case in order to be able to claim that. Because otherwise, if they did not have a case, they would be wasting a lot of legal fees just to try to be able to protect it for the wrong thing. And then if the company was found that they did not infringe, then they may be forced to pay the legal fees of the other of Tencent if Sony did not have a good case. But because this is so like close, like it is, a lot of people basically said it's like this looks pretty much almost exactly like it's a Horizon clone or a different Horizon game. You can, like it's up to Sony to basically to protect that. And I think that yes, obviously, to protect the copyright, they have to actively sue whenever stuff like this comes up to try to be able to prevent other companies and studios from doing the same thing. But also, it just the other side of it is what sort of possessed Tencent to think that this was going to be a good idea? I know some people would probably think of the theory of, oh, they were doing this so they could be able to get good publicity, so people could be able to want to be able to play their game, and the public outcry would be so much that, or like, Sony would drop the lawsuit and Tencent would win. And no, that's not how that works. Because essentially, if that was the case, if they're using this as a marketing tool, so marketing's paying lawyer fees? No, I don't think so. They would not drag this through the courts just to be able to say that all news is good news, even bad news. But it's like, no, that's not. That's we kind of, whenever anyone says, oh, it's a marketing gimmick or it's a marketing ploy, really, like, gives a lot more credit to a company than it's actually the case. In this particular moment, Sony is in the right to be able to sue Tencent. And even with Tencent coming to Sony saying, we have a pitch for an idea, and then Sony said no, and then they still decide to do it anyway, kind of makes you wonder why. I mean, that's really kind of the question I have, is why? Why would Tencent go this far in making this type of game that looks so similar to Horizon, made by Sony? Did they think that they were maybe big enough, Tencent was big enough that they could, combat Sony if there was a legal case? And the game can still come out anyway? I don't think so. There's a lot of this that doesn't necessarily make logical sense. But then again, I don't know all the whole story, and I'm also not necessarily a legal expert. Other than in regards to, I'm not an expert even in trademark or copyright law in any way, shape, or form. But I have had some friends who've had to basically to try to protect that copyright, or protect their copyright in small ways. But, they have had to protect their copyright. They have to actively be looking for things that potentially might be the same thing as what your product is. Because otherwise, again, you will lose that trademark, you will lose that copyright, and then you have no legal action to be able to take. So if someone creates the same thing and becomes a lot bigger than you have no recourse. That's why the copyright and trademark law exists, is so that that way no one can be able to steal an idea and become super profitable from it. It gives the person who at least is the victim in the situation, to, which I'm not saying Sony's a victim, but I think if it's a smaller business type thing, it protects that, it protects them. And yes, it's like big corporations have to do this too on a grander scale, like Sony suing Tencent right now. But you have to do it, otherwise you lose it. So will this come to anything? I don't know. Nintendo is going through the same thing with Power World right now, so we don't know the outcome of that. I think, in essence, one of these cases will either be dismissed or be won in soon. I would hope so, and that basically sets the precedent going forward. So I would imagine that if, say, Nintendo's suit with against Power World goes through and actually is Power World is forced to shut down, then I think that gives precedent to Sony's side to say, hey, there's already legal precedent for this. You should stop. You should stop this. You should stop Tencent from doing this. But if the court finds in favor of Power World, saying that no, you did not, there is no copyright being broken. It's similarities, yes, but there is no copyright being broken. Then this gives more a legal precedent for Tencent to say, hey, look, our game is yes, is our game similar? Sure, but not from a legal standpoint, not from a copyright standpoint. So one of these cases is gonna determine whether, or what the courts are gonna think about these types, because now we got two big lawsuits in regards to this. So I'd be very curious to see what the outcome is of both of those. Anyway, what do you think of this? Let me know in the comment section down below. Speaking of Sony PlayStation, we actually have a new trailer for their new fight stick, which is called the FlexStrike. This is by Jordan Miller over at VGC. Sony's PlayStation 5 fight stick is called the FlexStrike. Is coming in 2026. Announced during State of Play earlier this summer as Project Defiant, the FlexStrike is Sony's latest move in the fighting game community. Sony, which owns the Evolution Championship Series, which is Evo, has announced the stick will launch next year and be compatible with PC or PlayStation 5. That's actually a good thing for PC. The controller will be on display for the first time at Evo 2025 in Las Vegas from August 1 to 3rd. The FlexStrike fight stick will include a sling bag. Oh, that's interesting. Sony has yet to announce the price of the upcoming accessory. FlexStrike can be used either wirelessly or via USB-C wired connection. It'll feature a rechargeable battery, but Sony has yet to share details on battery life. The FlexStrike wireless fight stick features a high-quality, custom-designed digital stick, buttons with mechanical switches, toolless interactable restrictor gates, squares, circle, and octagon, and a durable ergonomic design to ensure you stay in the fight, the company says. Store your restrictor gates and the PlayStation Link wireless adapter right inside the device for convenience and portability. Let us watch this trailer, shall we? I do like the look of it, that is for sure. Wireless fight stick, okay. Yep. And I'm going to get to the accessibility side of this in a second. They are really pushing that wireless link, but it is good that it is also USB powered too. Durable custom designed digital stick. Feel every strike with mechanical switch buttons. Lever switch mode. Okay, so, oh, interesting. So you can switch between lever switch. So you basically can switch between D-pad, L stick, or R stick. Oh, that's how they're able to like use it as oh, interesting. That's how they're able to utilize it from on a PlayStation 5 perspective. Okay, I see what they're trying to do. So obviously this is going to need to connect to a PS5, and if there's only one joystick, it needs to be able to be usable as either left or right thumbstick, and also the D-pad. So I like that it's that switch actually can be able to solve a little bit of a few of those problems for just using the system OS or just a game that doesn't have the capability of navigating with a D-pad, which shouldn't be the case. But I am like at least Sony is able to see that and accommodate for it. There's also a lock button, okay, to keep button presses focused on the right. Oh, focus on the fight, okay. Includes DualSense wireless controller inputs. Okay. Built for fighting, non-slip base to keep you grounded. It's good. Toolless gate swap, circle, square, and octagon retractor gates included. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't even know. Oh, wow. This is so into fight stick tech that I didn't even realize. So I didn't even realize this is a thing. So if I'm reading this correctly, this kind of helps sort of like give more freedom or less freedom of movement with the thumbstick. So I can imagine, yeah, okay, if it's a square, you can only like go up, down, left, right. But if you use a circle, you have full 360 degree sort of movement. And if you or octagon kind of has it basically has a built-in sort of like stop, like physical stop that basically prevents the thumb or the joystick from being from slipping from one to the from one control to the other. That's interesting. Has a built-in rechargeable battery. Okay. Built-in storage. PlayStation Link compatible with PS5 and PC. Good. And a second FlexStrike. Okay. Someone says to connect compatible audio. Oh, you can actually connect the audio directly to the thing. And it has a sling carrying case. Okay. And now they're showing off Marvel. Okay. Always ready for the fight. Register for updates at PlayStation.com/FlexStrike. That's really cool. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to talk about this is not necessarily because I'm a big sort of fighting game fan. I like fighting games. I definitely enjoy them when I can play them, especially when they're accessible, like Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6 as of recently. But the thing that that I like about this is, again, is the idea of an alternate controller. We're so used to this, the PlayStation, the specific controller configuration that we've seen in so many, like for decades now. You basically hold it with two hands. You have the face buttons on the right and the thumb and the D-pad on the left, and then now they have the thumbsticks either on offset with the Xbox or basically parallel with the on PlayStation. And we've had that configuration for a while, and it's also not necessarily the best for accessibility wise. I know several friends who can't be able to hold on to a like a PlayStation or an Xbox controller. So by creating a fight stick, it creates an alternate controller. Now, is it designed for accessibility in mind? No, that's why we have the Access controller from PlayStation for that. But in conjunction with, this could be an interesting alternative for accessible play. The fact that the buttons are all kind of flat and on the surface of the Flex Stick could make it easier for those with motor disabilities in their hands or quadriplegic could be able to potentially use this a little bit better. And with the ability to be able to combine several controllers into one, you can be able to potentially do that. You could essentially buy an Access controller or using a DualSense controller, and then in conjunction with it, add the fight stick and be able to utilize it if it's more comfortable for you. Because this is a flat configuration. This means that you can be able to hit the trigger and shoulder buttons along with the face buttons with a quick movement. Now, the joystick, that could be that also has been used as an accessible controller. We definitely have seen joysticks being used to for motor disabilities for controllers. So having one that's great, and having that switch between the different sort of thumbsticks and D-pad can also help. And also, again, with those sort of back, what do they call them? Toolless gate swap. If you could be able to, that could also be shown as potential for accessibility too, because if you wanted to have less control or less movement or more movement with your joystick, this could be a potential also a thing for accessibility. So there's always something that like having an alternate controller can do for accessibility. Again, is it designed for disabled players in mind? No, maybe potentially, but not like in this case, it's designed as a fight stick. Fight sticks can also be accessible. Depends on what kind of movement and control you can be able to do. Not to say it's the be all end all solution for motor disabilities. No, definitely not. But it definitely can be potentially used in the right direction. It's what we call essentially, in essence, it's incidentally accessible. By the nature of it being an alternate controller and having an alternate control scheme, which also means too, again, this is also going on PC, which means that there also could be even further development for accessibility by the fact that it can be modded either or with software or potentially with hardware or firmware. Because right now, the Access controller is not compatible with PC. As far as I know, I don't think it's been a minute since I looked into it, but as far as I know, I don't think that the Access controller is compatible with PC as of yet. So let's see, PS Access controller compatible with PC. That was as of 1 year ago. Okay, so pretty much it looks like that nothing new has been announced it being compatible with PC. There's I mean, in a way, technically, it can be connected to a PC via USB-C, and that is definitely a possibility. But it doesn't have the full functionality of the access controller that you can on PS5. So it has. It's limited support, but not full support, and that's what we're still waiting for. So this could be a potential solution for that for people with motor disabilities. I'd be very curious to see actually from my friends who use these adaptive controllers to see whether or not this is something that they could be interested in. I'm going to talk with them and see if maybe I can find a follow-up with them at some point. But let me know what you think of it in the comment section down below. Be very, very super curious about that. All right, we got an extra long episode for today, which is totally fine. Let me know what you thought, or let me know what your thoughts on these stories today. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. Take care. Have yourself a great and wonderful day. And I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.